He's a terrifying enemy of G.I. Joe. Destro is his name. Destro is his name. G.I. Joe, American hero, fighting evil Destro.
Hey, welcome to Half the Battle, and welcome back to Main Character May.
This is when we'll be talking about Destro all month long. Today, we'll be taking a look at a selection of figures that came out after the original toy line ended.
And that means we have to start with that greatest of all G.I. Joe years, 1997.
Yes, the year by many considered to be the worst for G.I. Joe, including those years where Hasbro actually didn't produce any new toys, is back.
Though when it comes to Destro, it wasn't that bad, really.
So meet Destro version 5. This figure was released in 1997, big shock there, with no original body parts. It was part of a 3-pack with a Cobra Commander and Baroness figure called Cobra Command Team. And it was part of the 15th anniversary Toys R Us exclusive Collector's Edition line. It uses the mold from version 3.
Look, I've talked extensively about the flustercluck that was the 1997 line.
But in a nutshell, Hasbro wanted to use the molds of the original figures to create this anniversary edition. Unfortunately, once they were past pre-production, including doing the packaging artwork, they found many of the original molds were damaged or just straight up missing. This included Cobra Commander version 1, that's why it's the armored version in this pack, and Destro version 1, which is why version 3's mold ended up being used.
I can only speculate,
but I think Destro version 1's mold might have been lost after it was sent to Palatoy to create the Red Jackal, as that mold was never used again after that.
Anyway, onto the figure itself.
It's a far more subdued version of the 1992 one, with a more sober purple and black color scheme. Can't hide that magnificent color though. Also, the vac metallized head is back, which was honestly a surprise considering how cheaply Hasbro wanted this line to be made. I do like this look, but then again, I always like the more subdued color schemes.
The detailing can be a bit sketchy.
He's got silver on his chain, arms and legs, but on the one I have, some of it seems to be missing, on the legs at least. And this figure has never been played with, so it came in the packaging like that. Having said all that, Destro is still one of the best figures from 97.
Though that is damning with faint praise.
Oh, and they gave him the accessories from version 3 too. I'm guessing the gun and backpack molds from the first one were also lost. Overall, it's an okay figure, but like most of 97, nothing remarkable. That isn't to say there wasn't a remarkable Destro figure in that year though.
Oh yes, it's time to talk about him.
You see, this figure had a variation, an extremely rare variation. So rare in fact that for a long time its very existence was in doubt. So rare in fact that I don't have it, so I have to resort to old eBay pictures.
And here it is!
It's basically the same figure but with a leopard print on his collar and legs. Oh, and I do mean old eBay pictures. You can't find any for sale. The last one was sold in 2021 for over $5,000.
$5,000!
Last week I balked at over $100 for a Red Jackal, so you can imagine how I feel about this. It's so rare I can't even promise you this is a picture of a real one or a custom. When this figure was discovered, the fan community named it Pimp Daddy Destro because of course they did. So, this toy, what happened?
Well, first of all, yes, it is real.
It was actually made by Hasbro. This has been confirmed by Hasbro employees themselves. In fact, this was the first design they were gonna use for 1997 Destro, leopard print and all. But when a very limited test run was actually produced and a sample made it back to Hasbro, somebody higher up thought the design was just a bit too out there and ordered a more conservative color scheme.
This all happened before the actual anniversary toy line went into production, so this color change was an easy one to make.
All in all, it's guesstimated about 100 or so Pimp Daddy Destros were produced. Out of those, maybe half a dozen accidentally ended up in the 3-pack and sent to retail.
Probably because someone at the factory said, waste not, want not.
That's why on the rare occasions one does turn up, it's more likely to be a loose figure since a few more of those made it out of the overseas factory. So yeah, forget about the Goldhead Steel Brigade figure or Mickey Mouse logo Cobra Commander. This is the rarest G.I. Joe toy out there.
With the dumbest fan name.
Yeah, Hasbro themselves weren't too fond of the nickname, and neither was Arthur Burkhart, the original voice of Destro. It's hardly appropriate for a children's toy. Still, Hasbro allowed a modern figure based on the leopard look to be sold at conventions in 2007, marking the 25th anniversary of G.I.Joe and the 10th anniversary of the figure itself. It was just called Destro though. It wasn't until 2021 when they leaned into the bit hard when they released Prophet Director Destro, a classified figure that shared the same initials, PDD, with the 1997 nickname. And that was Pimp Daddy Destro.
Well, I'll see you next time, everybody, and... What? That's not actually the subject of today's video? We've got other toys to look at? Okay.
Well, up next would be the 2001 version, but we already saw that one last week. It's virtually identical to the 1992 one with minor color differences. The only thing of note about him is that there was a danger of ending up with a lot of unwanted duplicates if you're an army builder, as he was only sold in a 2-pack with a Fast Blast Viper, a troop builder.
I'm also skipping over the G.I.Joe vs. Cobra ones, as I don't have them.
They look like he's on steroids and have limited articulation due to a new body construction.
Nobody liked that.
Now, overall, Destro has had, in broad terms, two major looks to him: Iron Grenadier Leader or Disco King.
There was, however, another look, which was basically Waffen-SS Officer.
So meet Destro version 11. This figure was released in 2004 with mostly original body parts. Yeah, the body is all new, but the head is from a previous 2003 figure. One that I don't have, so I can't really review it, but I will say that every time I see it, I'm reminded of that one photo of The Rock with that fanny pack. This one does have a real fascist look to him, something not unheard of with Cobra.
But it's still quite a shift from previous figures.
It's the first one that actually looks sinister. He's part of the Valor vs. Venom line, and came in a 2-pack with Kamakura. The figure suffers from the same problem many of the toys from this line had, namely that his torso is too short compared to his legs, or his legs are too long compared to his torso, depending on how you look at it. There was one more figure that shared this Uber Strombannführers look.
And for that we have to jump to 2009 and the Rise of Cobra movie line.
This is version 23 with all original body parts. He's got a jacket with popped collar and those wide trouser legs. It's sort of based on how he sometimes looked in the cartoon when he's in cold weather gear.
You know what it's not based on? The actual freaking movie!
Yeah, Destro doesn't look like this in Rise of Cobra. Most of the film he looks like Doctor Who in a suit. Only at the very end of the whole thing does he even get his mask. So this figure has little in common with the movie.
And honestly, that's not a bad thing.
Considering he is taller than most original G.I.Joe figures, just like version 1, and he sort of had this look at times in the cartoon, you could easily consider him as another Destro from the 80s. The only argument against that is that this figure has a Cobra symbol on his arm, which really doesn't fit with Destro's character.
To round things off, I'll briefly talk about some of the figures that have the modern body construction.
Yes, briefly, because this review is long enough as it is, thank you Pimp Daddy. They're all from 2007 and 2008, two use the same mold, versions 14 and 17. The last one, version 19, uses another. 14 has the most traditional look, and is from the Cobra Battle 5-pack. While it's a good likeness, he does look a little too thin in my book. Shouldn't have skipped leg day. 17 is pretty much the same, though it has a different, in my opinion worse, color scheme. This figure was part of a comic book 2-pack with a breaker figure, and I guess these colors are supposed to make him more comic accurate?
Still looks dumb.
This one does have a vac metallized head, which I really wish had been on 14 instead. One weird thing that both these figures share is that the oh-so-famous collar is actually an accessory, technically. Yeah, it's removable, though I have no freaking idea why or who thought that was a good idea.
And the most baffling part?
If you do take it off, a part of his bare chest comes with it. I wish I had known about this when I did my video on the dumbest G.I. Joe accessories, because believe me, this would have been up there. As for 19, he's in the style of Iron Grenadier Destro, but uses the comic book colors again. That's because this figure too came in a 2-pack with a comic. It uses the body of version 16, in my opinion the best of the modern ones.
That I sadly don't have.
He looks sufficiently bulky, especially compared to the other two here. Also, it should go without saying, but all modern figures have extra articulation at the wrists and feet.
Oh, and my wish from last week has been granted.
Since this figure did actually come with a sword you could unsheath. Kudos on that. And that was my look at some of the Destro figures that came out after the original line ended. I know there are still a lot of them I didn't talk about because there's just so many and I don't have all of them. Hell, there are over 30, not even counting the classified figures.
Next week, it'll be time to talk about the character, starting with the file cards.
As you can imagine, when it comes to the character, there will be quite a bit to get through. So much in fact that I'm not sure if I can do it all in one video or if I'll have to split it in two.
You'll have to wait and find out, I guess. Well, I'll see you next time, everybody. And hey, why not like, share, and subscribe if that's your thing?
He's a terrifying enemy of G.I. Joe. Destro is his name. Destro is his name. American hero. Fighting evil Destro. Introducing Destro.